2 martini glasses, the setup. 2 martini glasses. That's what Dean Martin was holding when he walked onto an 11th floor balcony in Las Vegas, 1971. Below him, 300 people, police, ambulances, news cameras. In front of him, a young woman on the wrong side of the railing about to jump. Dean sat down next to her, held out one of the glasses, and said something so calm, so unexpected, that the woman, who hadn't spoken in over an hour, turned and looked at him. By sunrise, she was back inside, alive. This is what Dean Martin said that night. The 11th floor balcony, October 14th, 1971. October 14th, 1971, the Sands Hotel, Las Vegas, 9:47 p.m. Dean Martin had just finished his second show of the evening. 2,000 people had screamed his name for 90 minutes. He'd sung Everybody Loves Somebody, made jokes about his drinking, and walked off stage to a standing ovation. Now he was in his dressing room, tie loosened, shoes off, smoking a cigarette and thinking about going home. That's when someone knocked on his door. "Mr. Martin?" It was Jerry, one of the hotel security guards. His voice was shaking. "We need your help." Dean opened the door. Jerry looked terrified. "There's a girl on one of the balconies, 11th floor. She's going to jump." Dean put out his cigarette. "Police there?" "Yeah, negotiators. Captain says they've been talking to her for an hour. She won't answer, won't move, won't look at them." "What room?" 1147. "But, Mr. Martin, they're not letting anyone up there except—" Dean was already walking. When Dean Martin stepped off the elevator on the 11th floor, he walked into controlled chaos. Police officers, hotel management, a crisis negotiator speaking into a megaphone aimed at a closed balcony door. "Ma'am, we just want to talk. Nobody's going to hurt you. Just tell us your name." No response. Through the balcony's glass door, Dean could see her. Young, maybe early 20s, dark hair, white dress, standing on the wrong side of the railing, facing out toward the lights of the Strip. 11 stories of empty air between her and the ground. Captain Raymond Garcia, LVPD's lead crisis negotiator, was coordinating the response. He'd been doing this job for 12 years. He'd talked down jumpers, hostage takers, armed suspects. He was good at his job. But this girl wasn't responding to anything. Dean walked up to Garcia.
Captain Garcia turned, recognized him immediately. "Mr. Martin, sir, this is an active situation. I need you to—" "How long's she been out there?" "Hour and 15 minutes. She say anything?" "Not a word." "You know her name?" Garcia hesitated, then nodded. "Sarah Mitchell, 23. Waitress at the Flamingo. Checked into this room 6 hours ago. Paid cash." Dean looked at the balcony door. "She alone when she checked in?" "Yeah." "Note?" "We don't know. Haven't been in the room." Dean nodded slowly, processing. Then he turned and started walking toward the door. Garcia grabbed his arm. "Mr. Martin, I can't let you." Dean looked at the hand on his arm, then at Garcia. His voice was quiet, but firm. "Captain, I've been on this earth 54 years. I've lost people. I've thought about jumping. I know what that edge feels like." He gently removed Garcia's hand. "Either you let me try, or you watch her jump. Your choice, Captain." Garcia stared at him. Every protocol said no. Every regulation said absolutely not. But something in Dean Martin's eyes, something exhausted and knowing and sad, made Garcia step aside. 5 minutes, Garcia said. That's all I can give you. Dean walked to the hotel bar cart in the hallway, picked up 2 martini glasses, poured gin into both of them from a bottle someone had left. Then he opened the balcony door. The first thing Dean noticed was the wind. This high up, it was constant, cold, despite the desert heat below. The second thing he noticed was how small she looked standing on that ledge, like a ghost, like she was already gone. Dean didn't say anything at first. He just stepped onto the balcony, closed the door behind him, and sat down right on the edge next to her, his legs dangling over the side. 11 stories of nothing beneath him. He lit a cigarette, took a drag, set one of the martini glasses on the ledge between them. Then he spoke. "Hey, sweetheart, I'm Dean." Sarah didn't turn, didn't move. The wind pulled at her white dress like it was trying to take her. "I was going to drink alone up in my room," Dean continued, his voice casual, conversational, like they were sitting in a bar instead of on a ledge. "You know what maudlin means?" Silence. "Means I start thinking about all the things I screwed up, all the people I let down. Gets depressing." He took another drag of his cigarette. "I thought maybe you'd join me, just for one drink. Then if you still want to jump, I won't stop you." Still nothing. Dean picked up the glass he'd set between them, looked at it, looked out at the Vegas lights sprawled below. Beautiful city at night, isn't it? All those lights. Looks like stars fell from the sky and got stuck down there. He paused. "Funny thing about Vegas. Everyone comes here thinking it's going to solve something, going to make them lucky, going to change their life." He turned his head slightly toward her. "Never does, though. Vegas doesn't change anything, just makes you see what was already there." Sarah's fingers tightened on the railing. It was the first movement she'd made in over an hour. Dean noticed, but didn't react, just kept talking. "You know what I do for a living, Sarah?" Her name. He'd used her name. She flinched when she heard it. "I make people laugh. I sing songs. I pretend to be drunk on stage, though sometimes I really am drunk, to be honest." He smiled slightly. "People think my life is perfect. They think being Dean Martin means you've got it figured out." He took a long drag of his cigarette, blew the smoke into the wind. "But you know what? Nobody sees the nights I can't sleep, the mornings I can't get out of bed because I'm so tired of pretending I'm happy. The times I've stood exactly where you're standing, Sarah, looking down, wondering if anyone would really miss me." Now Sarah turned, looked at him for the first time. Her eyes were red, makeup streaked down her face. She looked so young. "They would," she whispered, her first words in an hour. "Miss you." Dean shook his head gently. "Maybe, for a while. Then they'd move on, find somebody else to sing their songs. That's the thing about being famous, sweetheart. You're replaceable." Sarah's eyes filled with tears. "Everybody's replaceable." "You're right." She blinked, surprised. Dean set down his glass and looked at her directly. "You're absolutely right. We're all replaceable. There's always somebody who can do your job, take your place, fill your space. That's true." He reached over and picked up the second glass, her glass, and held it out to her. "But here's what's also true. Nobody can tell your story. Nobody can love the people you love the way you love them. Nobody can see the world through your eyes. You're not special because you're irreplaceable, Sarah. You're special because you're the only you that will ever exist." Sarah stared at the glass, at Dean's hand holding it out, steady, patient. "I don't want to be me anymore," she whispered. "I know. I'm tired. I know. I can't—" her voice broke. "I can't keep pretending I'm okay." Dean's voice was soft. "Then don't.
Sarah looked at him, confused. Stop pretending, Sarah. Stop smiling when you don't mean it. Stop saying you're fine when you're not. Stop being what everyone expects you to be. But if I stop pretending, you might finally find out who you really are. Sarah's hand trembled as she reached for the glass. Her fingers brushed Dean's. She took it. I don't even like martinis, she said, almost laughing through her tears. Dean smiled. Neither do I, sweetheart. I'm a whiskey guy, but the bar card only had gin. Sarah laughed. It was small, broken, but it was real. Dean raised his glass. To not pretending. Sarah looked at her glass, at Dean, at the lights of Vegas below. Then she raised her glass. To not pretending. They drank. The wind pulled at them. The city hummed below. And for the first time in hours, Sarah Mitchell took a breath that didn't feel like drowning. They sat there for 3 more hours. Dean didn't try to pull her back, didn't call for help, didn't rush her. He just talked, asked questions, listened. He told her about his childhood in Steubenville, Ohio, about being poor, about his mother who died when he was young, about feeling like he never belonged anywhere. Sarah told him about her family in Nebraska, about coming to Vegas to be a showgirl, about the audition where they told her she wasn't pretty enough, about the boyfriend who'd left her 3 days ago. He said I was too much work, said loving me was exhausting. Dean shook his head. Then he wasn't strong enough for you. Maybe nobody is. Or maybe you haven't met the right person yet. Maybe I'm not supposed to. Dean looked at her. Sarah, you're 23 years old. You don't know yet who you're supposed to meet, what you're supposed to do, who you're supposed to become. I'm tired of waiting to find out. I know. But what if tomorrow is the day everything changes? What if next week you meet someone who makes you laugh? What if next month you find something you're good at that makes you want to get out of bed? And what if I don't? Dean was quiet for a moment. Then he said, Then you'll still have tomorrow, and the day after that, and the day after that, and maybe one of those days will be different. But if you jump tonight, you'll never know. Sarah started crying, not quiet tears, deep, shaking sobs. Dean didn't touch her, just let her cry, let her feel everything she'd been holding in. When she finally stopped, she looked at him. I'm scared to go back inside. I know. I don't know how to keep living. Nobody does, sweetheart. We're all just making it up as we go. Sarah looked down at the street below, then back at Dean. Will you come with me? Back inside? Dean stood up carefully. He reached out his hand. I'm not going anywhere, Sarah. She looked at his hand for a long time. Then she took it. Dean helped her climb back over the railing. Her legs were shaking so badly she could barely stand. He put his arm around her shoulders and walked her to the balcony door. Captain Garcia was waiting on the other side with paramedics. Sarah turned to Dean before they took her. Thank you.
Dean shook his head. You saved yourself, sweetheart. I just kept you company. The letters. 43 years of life. Dean Martin never talked about that night publicly. When reporters asked, he'd just smile and say, I had a drink with a friend. But Sarah Mitchell remembers every word. She spent 2 weeks in a psychiatric facility, got treatment, started therapy, moved back to Nebraska. In 1973, she enrolled in nursing school. In 1975, she graduated. By 1980, she was working in a suicide prevention clinic. For the next 40 years, Sarah Mitchell dedicated her life to helping people in crisis. She became a therapist specializing in suicidal ideation. She trained crisis hotline workers. She spoke at schools about depression and hope. And every October 14th, she'd send Dean Martin a letter. Dear Dean, I'm still here. Thank you for sitting with me. Thank you for not letting me fall. Sarah. Dean kept every letter. When he died in 1995, they found them in a box in his bedroom. 43 letters, one for every year Sarah lived after that night. At Dean's funeral, a woman in her 40s approached Deanna Martin, Dean's daughter. You don't know me, the woman said, but your father saved my life. She told Deanna about the balcony, about the martini glasses, about the 3 hours that changed everything. He didn't just talk me down, Sarah said. He showed me it was okay to be broken, that you don't have to have it all figured out, that sometimes just surviving another day is enough. Deanna cried and hugged her. That was my dad, she said. He pretended to have everything together, but really he was just as lost as everyone else. He just knew how to sit with people in their pain. The man behind the smile. The world remembers Dean Martin as the king of cool, the guy with the drink and the smile, the one who made it look easy. But that night on the balcony revealed who Dean really was. A man who understood darkness because he'd lived in it. A man who didn't try to fix Sarah, just sat with her. A man who knew that sometimes the bravest thing you can do is admit you're scared too. Dean Martin saved Sarah Mitchell's life, not by being a hero, but by being human. By saying, I've been where you are, and I'm still here. Sarah Mitchell is 75 years old now. She has 3 children, 7 grandchildren, and a 40-year career saving lives. All because Dean Martin walked onto a balcony with 2 drinks and refused to let her fall alone. People asked me why I didn't jump, Sarah said in a 2019 interview. The truth is, I was going to. I'd already let go in my mind. But then Dean sat down next to me, and suddenly I wasn't alone anymore. He didn't save me by pulling me back. He saved me by staying. The lesson. That's the Dean Martin story nobody tells. Not the entertainer, not the legend. The man who sat on a ledge with a stranger and reminded her that being broken doesn't mean you're finished. If you're reading this and you're struggling, remember Sarah's story. Remember that tomorrow might be the day everything changes. Remember that you don't have to have it figured out. You just have to stay. And if you can't stay for yourself, stay for the people you haven't met yet, the lives you haven't touched yet, the story you haven't finished yet. Dean Martin taught Sarah Mitchell that survival isn't about being strong. It's about being willing to sit in the pain until the morning comes. And the morning always comes.